back, everybody, to more StarCraft at the Nexon Arena. We're going to be jumping into our last best of 3 of the night, Deer versus Classic, a PvP.
All right, and this is a PvP which we've gotten to see countless times last season in SSL Challenge, as both of these players did make it to the second stage. They fought each other over and over again, and it was Classic's time at that point. He had figured out the Sky Toss style, and he was just taking Protoss heads right and left. And then a patch came through and it changed the way Tempests work, so that now they were better against these big capital ship late game wars, and it really felt like that hit the main thing that was causing Classic to win all these games. And at that point, guys like Deer were really just coming up. They had a lot to prove, and he did. Made it here into SSL Premier, and it's actually looking pretty good going head to head.
I'm very excited for this one. I know everybody was, really waiting for the Innovation versus Dark series, and they're like, oh yeah, this is going to be so hype, but there was a secret hidden gem right behind it, and it is this Deer versus Classic series. Deer looking so good, but Classic in his own right is as well. They're both 2-0 here in SSL Premier, having great runs so far in Premier after promoting from Challenge.
Yeah, I really got to say, as the seasons progress, it's cool to see things balance out. Who belongs where, which level of competition are you up for? Deer, one of the few players to say, look, I just belong here. And after a little bit of shakiness initially, he was just steamrolling through everything, made it here to Premier. Like you said, 2-0, going up against this guy. Now, Classic, if this were GSL, he'd have a gold border because he is an SSL champion. He is no stranger to having gone through the likes of Biol and Maru, and now he finds himself against another player who's done remarkably well in PvP.
This is going to be a fun one. I'm really hyped for this. I think that Classic could take it. My money is on Deer, as we did say in the After Hours video, but Classic, it is a best of 3, and it is a PvP. Deer's been looking pretty tricky in the PvP matchup. We just saw him go up against Stats, and he did take the 2-1 victory. It was close. Stats did win a game with his DTs, but Deer was the better player at the end of the day.
We'll find out who is the better player at the end of today's games. As we get into our final series of the match, guys, it's time for Deer versus Classic. No, it's not. We still have a few seconds.
You were close.
No, I don't think I was actually that close.
You were like 10 seconds.
I was pretty far away.
Early. Okay, try it again.
Here we go. It's time for Deer versus Classic.
Yeah, that was better.
Better fly, Jin Air. Oh, you said the air part faster. But by and far, we are getting better at it. So here's our Protoss player, one of them anyway. It's Deer.
And his opponent, the other Protoss player up in the top left, it is Classic.
Now, Classic will be blue, Deer will be red for the purposes of our player colors. Unfortunately, the scoreboard will actually have them on the opposite side of their colors, so expect lots of differing names and
I'll just try
calls.
not to call them both hero the entire game this time.
All right, good call. We're working on it one step at a time.
Yeah, one step at a time.
It's actually our first day on the job, guys. We're new to this.
Set your goals low first, easy to achieve goals so you gain confidence, and then over time you can achieve the harder goals.
Yeah,
such
you know what
as
they say.
Calling the players by their right names.
You know what they say, Valdez? Aim for the stars, and if you miss, you might hit the bullseye.
What?
Somewhere in there that was vaguely correct, right? I don't know.
You got most of that correct, I think.
Hey, that's what I'm going for. See? Like I said, aim for the... No, I'm just... All right, so it's going to be 2-gate openers, very standard PvP. Got to have as much stuff as the other guy. Although, at least classically, when these guys have fought before, they've sort of alternated builds. Back in the day, it was them trading off who goes Sky Toss, who goes for ground army with things like Blink Stalkers and Archons. This time around, it's still going to be the same openers, but we're going to see things like deviations, who makes Stalkers, who makes Adepts, what's their priority on early, and how do they want to transition, lots of different pathways to take.
Both of them going for the Scout. Classic was a little bit earlier on this one, so we'll come in here, see that everything's normal for now, sees all the gas is being mined, and nothing new just yet. Both of these players are going to make Stalkers, so no Adepts for the Scout.
Okay. Now, previously, at least in the PvPs, we had last week was mirror match week, so we got to see a lot of those. We're finishing things out this week with the mirror. Sometimes you'll see Blink Stalkers be the way to go here, just because if you do have better control, that's what can give you that little edge to win out in the confrontations. Now, the other option, of course, is what we see coming out from Deer. You go for the early robotics, and that gives you Immortals. And Immortals sort of take the micro away from Blink Stalkers because they're just going to take that damage right up front. You can't hang on too long against them. So that is one option. The other question we have is, when do you expand? And it looks like, at least for this game, that's the exact same time for both players.
Yeah, it's Deer making a couple less Stalkers, and I like the choice on this map. Are those two Stalkers really going to kill Deer in this situation? Probably not, but we do have this pylon over here, so he could get a little bit funky.
2 more proxy robos?
Oh, yeah.
Probably not. Stargate. All right.
It's at a weird time. This could definitely catch Deer off guard.
So I think that's basically the same time that Classic did it when he played yesterday. I mean, that was versus Maru, so different matchup, different style and all that. But yeah, coming in a little bit later than you'd expect.
No pylon here for Deer. He doesn't have a chance to overcharge. He needs to wait for more units to come out. He needs the Immortal to push these Stalkers back.
Yeah, it turns out sentries don't fight very well, guys. Blink, 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 blink. Doesn't deal damage. But yeah, the Immortal coming out, Valdez, and that will usher Classic back away. But yeah, this I'm guessing Oracle. Yeah, there it is. Oracle coming through. As we find out it's a Void Ray all in. I'm like, oh, well, that's one way to do it.
Wolf came back from China, snuck into the booth. He's actually doing this. Like, that was a wolf, so much sense.
That was a wolf strat from back in the day, guys.
Yeah.
It was old school. But yeah, the Immortal pressing forward, not a whole lot that can deal with it. The smallest of scouts gets in and sees what's in the base, but will not scout this Oracle coming through.
Does have the Mothership Core back at home just in case, which is really, really nice. Not trying to go attack with his Mothership Core, and that should keep him safe. Does have a lot of energy saved up on that Mothership Core that he got pretty early on. I just don't see a pylon at the natural, and that's exactly where Classic is going.
Yeah.
A good choice.
So this Oracle's going to hit. There's one more coming.
Well, decides against it as it goes into the main. There's the overcharge.
I think that overcharge is in range to... No, I think it's one hit off. Yeah, so it's going to go back to the natural and kill off all of those probes. So there's damage being done in bind. Immortal in the front, focusing down these pylons. One will go down, the second one prevails. The Immortal might just fall. It does!
Yeah, not the best decision there to go for the double overcharged pylon with your opponent in a perfect position. So that could just be lights out. I mean, you take a look at the supply in this desperate fight from Deer. It's not going to work.
No, in fact, it is not, Valdez. Wow, Deer just completely getting crushed there. The Immortal in the front, a good spot for it to be, but just too much damage from those double overcharged pylons. They weren't taken out quickly enough, and even having taken economic damage behind this, Classic winning on every front.
Now Deer just desperately trying to do some counter harass, but Classic going to move across the map and crush this nerd.
Yeah. In fact, this is going to be an exercise in my favorite 90s hand game, Bop It. That's what he's going to go do in here. He's going to twist this nerd. He's going to stretch it. But in the end, the bopping will be being dealt. GG, Classic takes game number 1.
Pretty botched attack there. It seemed like Classic knew it was coming too, as, it's a long map and he had his Stalkers out on the map. He's like, okay, are you really going to attack me? And generally what you do with that is you use the map control to get some extra tech up, to do something with it instead of attacking straight into your opponent and dying. So it really came down to that one big decision. I thought Deer was in a pretty good spot. He defended against the Oracle decently well, but just that one attack really lost him the game.
Yeah, and you know, it feels credible in your mind when you think about it. You're like, okay, well, I have the Immortal tanking up front. I've got plenty of Stalkers behind. The Sentries for the shield is like pretty good, but just really, I guess, miscontrol. Would you call it that when you go in?
I think it was just a bad decision. Yeah, you know, like miscontrol would be like, oh, he put his Immortal out in front and it died. You know, which it was out in front and it did die, but I don't think that was really the cause. It was just the decision to go straight into that. And while Classic's army is attacking you, you're attacking his pylons, which are also attacking you, and all your units die. So not the best idea.
But now we're going to make the decision to head into our next game, Valdez, and that's going to be on Newkirk Precinct. Could be our final game of the night. It's been a pretty long night, I guess. Kind of felt like our series were also like very stressful in a lot of situations. So this is going to do it for us. Our last series, possibly our last game. Certainly a very close series. The Classic, at least, knew exactly how to take game number 1. We'll see if he can do it again here in game 2.
Go on to Newkirk Precinct for game number 2. Down in the bottom left in the red, it is Deer.
And on the right in the blue, this is Classic. Game number 1, the chin toss was the win toss there. Unfortunately, the losers are still us as casters who have to have the colors of the players on the opposite sides that they spawn. One day we'll figure out.
You would think the technology would be there.
Well, it's Control-Shift-X, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Seems like it's there, but.
This is hard mode. All right.
Yeah.
Well, it was hard mode for Deer in game 1, the decision-making. To go for that, not quite there. So we're going to see basically the same start out of both of these players. And even also consider that Classic went for the proxy Stargate, which didn't feel like it factored in. It felt like there was a lot of resources, a lot to commit to it that didn't wind up doing all that much. When it came to the head-to-head, Classic still came out on top.
Yeah, you could see Deer in the booth after that game. Right before game 2 started, he was closing his eyes, moving back and forth, trying to cast a spell. Realized he wasn't a wizard, but I think he was just trying to visualize how he would win game number 2. After a mistake like that, there's basically 2 ways you can take it. You could feel really down on yourself, embarrassed, and say, oh, I'm not feeling it tonight. I think I might just lose, and go into game 2 with a negative mindset. But I think what Deer was trying to do is reset his mind, get into his Zen mode, and say, let's pretend like game 1 didn't happen, but I got to win 2 in a row.
Super important to be able to do. You see a lot of players just really kind of tilt after they maybe go up against an impossible-to-beat opponent and lose. It's just like, well, it's just over. Can't do anything. It's like, well, no, not with that attitude, you're not. Now we get to see the ring around the rosy with probes. How cute. This time there will be a deviation, though, early on. It's going to be 2 Stalkers for Classic, 2 Adepts now for Deer. So maybe thinking that he needs a little bit more scouting information this time around. We'll be able to get in there with the shades and figure out what's happening, but won't have the same start. And at least for Deer's sake, hopefully won't have the same ending.
You can see he's hanging around here with his own Mothership Core as Classic sends his across the map. We'll see if he can get any scouting information. Deer wants to go for this early Nexus, but so does Classic. They both got probes down there at the bottom, and this should just transition in. Although Classic did go for 2 Sentries afterwards, where as Deer has saved his gas. See what he wants to do.
Sentries and Stalkers, yeah, pairing together, that is going to be pretty good. Now, pushing forward does not see the Nexus with those shades.
He's going a little bit closer this time around.
And there we go. All will be revealed, the trails that those Adepts blazed. But it's going to be Twilight on the way here for Deer, so you're thinking about that Blink Stalker, but ooh, losing these Adepts and taking that pressure off, that is not what you want to have happen early.
Got a Twilight Council for Deer, whereas the Robotics is coming out for Classic. I wonder what he's going to be going for here. Just Blink early? Yeah, and that does come down. This is like the Zest build, which kind of bothers me because he hasn't really been doing too well, but definitely can be good for controlling the map. Controlling the middle of the map is especially important on Newkirk Precinct.
Yeah.
So perhaps that's the angle he wants to take first.
Now, in the PvP that Deer played last week against Stats, I believe it was Stats that went for the wacky DTs that actually wound up winning him the game when it came to dealing with his opponent's push. So it's not going to be that this time around. This time going for I think, a much more standard Blink. And it's going to be Blink on both sides, but a little bit faster for Deer.
Blink on Blink action. So what I'd love to see.
Hallucinated Oracle?
Yes, it is.
You just really do not see that. It's going to hallucinated reveal. The reveal that actually doesn't reveal anything.
He knows because of the amount of damage it did take.
He knows because of the way it is.
What did that famous philosopher say that one time? It ain't what it do, what it be.
Oh no, yeah. People think it. It be like it is, but it.
But it do?
No, it's the opposite of that.
It's something like that.
I don't know. Either way, it's probably way too alpha brain for us.
It's my motto in life. So.
People don't think it be like it is, but it do.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's what it is.
You guys gotta listen to our words and hear them.
That's your job out there.
All right. So faster Blink here from Deer right as it hits, so will he. And this is going to be coming at a time where Classic will be woefully unprepared. Now, he still does have the ability to deal with this in the form of an Immortal and tons of sentries, so it's not going to be game over, but it still was a little bit of window that Deer tried to hit and unfortunately wasn't able to.
Look at the play here from Classic. He's adding 2 extra gateways and more Immortals with the Blink. Has +1 on the way, too. Doesn't want to go for a Nexus just yet. He scouted the 3rd Nexus of Deer. And as I say that, it looks like he does want to expand after all. But could be a fake. I mean, getting these 2 gateways at this timing is a little bit suspicious.
He is going to go for that Nexus. Now, if that were a natural and he were MC, I'd be scared of it being canceled. Unfortunately, no, it's not. He actually decides to expand in the other location instead of going up. He like double expands behind this, where it was just like, whoa, that's not something you can do. But yeah, he is going to expand behind it just a little bit slower than Deer.
Nice micro here from both these players, trying to get the trades. Yeah, it doesn't look like any gigantic attack just yet. He's adding 2 more gateways, and finally he resumes probe production. Just getting those gateways a little bit earlier. A slight difference in the build, but these guys essentially doing the same thing after all.
Just continually scouting with that hallucination with any adepts that he has out on the map. Just trying to get as much information as both of our players. Tech up, macro up, and I think the big difference here between our 2 players is going to be those Immortals. We've seen Classic have an add into his army. Also going for Templar Archives, going to get this Archon Immortal late game composition that has proven so successful in so many of our PvPs.
I like the way that you said tech up. It was like, tech up! Maybe if you had an announcer pack someday, you could say like, hey man, it's getting late game, you gotta tech up. I don't know when it would come out, but it was just an idea I had. I'll be talking with Blizzard later.
What an idea, Valdez. I have ideas,
yeah, you just
too.
got to give it a shot. You know?
They're just different ideas.
Okay. I see how it is.
That's about the only thing I can say. It's like, what can you say in this situation? Okay, well, we are going to see now Immortals in Deer's army added to it, just 1 to 4. I feel like that's not good odds for your Immortal buddies. 4th base. now being added here for Deer. Wow, that is that's optimistic, but he has always been the, I guess it feels like the aggressor here, poking out and putting pressure on. Classic just looking for that death ball. I guess this is very true to form if you consider his previous Sky Toss style, but wow, he is just really turtling up. He's just doing it more slowly than Deer, so I don't know if that's, you know, destined for success.
Deer went in there, sniped one probe, and then blinked away. What a play.
Gotta give him a little golf clap for that.
Deserves a clap for sure.
That's that kind of micro that you and I just would not do. We would be further behind because of that, Valdez.
It's true.
The mark of a pro.
The little things at the highest level.
Yep, so we're going to try a double immortal drop for a little bit of harassment to shake things up a little bit here for Deer, but Classic is kind of committed to playing back and being defensive, and even if he loses a few probes in his main, he's oversaturated there anyway, so probably will not be all that effective. So the drop is at least looking to come over, but this is right as Classic is pushing out.
He's going to group up with one of his observers just to make sure he's not spotted, but now he is by those Blink Stalkers. This drop is going to come in. We'll see if there's a warp in. He actually did just warp in, but he's got 3 more. Oh, no, actually, that's Deer. So he's going to commit to the warp in and try to do some damage there, but here comes the attack from Classic. Not going for it just yet. Just poking for now.
That's lots of damage being done there. All those gateways unpowered. Look at the probes trying to run away. This double immortal drop's doing work.
And Deer on the opposite side, he wants to take the fight at the same time. Is this going to work out? There's more Archons, more Immortals here for Classic.
Classic does have the larger army, but maybe the reinforcements are what Deer is rather relying on. I don't think that was really his fight to pick, but he's getting tons of damage done in the main.
Yeah, he can get that damage done, but at the end of it all, what does it really matter? 33 of his probes died at the same time. I think that was in the main and at the third, so Classic comes in here, wins the big fight, wins the harassment war, and should win this game.
Yeah, he's going to be, there's still damage being done in both players' mains, but it's too much, and Classic takes him out, and that will be a 2-0 victory to end our night on a winning note for Classic.
Yeah, very clean series for this guy. He should be very, very happy after taking out Deer, who was on an incredible roll, going through Challenge, through Fastlane, winning 2 series in a row in Premier, and finally takes his first loss in a while. So good for him. Classic taking him out. Maybe Deer has to go back to the drawing board, as he did not look as clean as we have seen him in some other series.
I mean, you can just see the achievements going in there for Classic. He was able to do what Innovation was not, and that is win 3 games in a row. There's a special achievement for that, so I believe that does put him at first place in our achievement rankings.
Classic's on top.
We have those now, achievement rankings.
Does he become a Royal Roader if he comes up from Classic into Premier and wins Premier?
I don't think that's quite how it works from Challenge. Yeah,
not Classic. That would be crazy.
Well, he is Classic.
Coming from Brood War into, I think that's why I said Classic, but
I don't
would
know
be a
if that
cool story
makes,
anyway.
Because it's not his first season in SSL, so I don't think that would be a Royal Roader. But it's still very impressive to see Classic come out and win not just 1 week, 2 weeks, but now 3 weeks. So indeed, he will ascend up in the standings. And let's take a look at exactly how he did it by checking out today's results. Hero dropping his series narrowly to Solar. Stats taking out Alive, and 2 very nail-biting series between Maru and Bjall, and Innovation and Dark closing things out with Classic 2-0 Deer.
It was a good day of games. Went a bit long. A lot of macro games in today's game, so definitely was a fun sight to see.
Look at how much has changed. Innovation now no longer on top. More money being made by Classic.
Yeah, he is the current gangsta of SSL Premier. He's got all that bling for himself up at the top, sitting at 6-1 in game score.
So many rocks up in his watch, he can't tell what the time is.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. And Bjall also down at 0-3, not to bring attention to not so good situation, but not having quite the season that he did in Season 1.
Alive truly struggling down there, yet to win a game. We'll see if he can do it next time. Here are a look at our matchups. Next Monday, this is what will be coming at you. Classic versus Stats, another epic PvP. And then it's Bjall versus Dark. Time for ZVZ. Swapping it up, TVZ Alive versus Solar. A tough opponent. He's looking for his first win. Alive is. Then Maru versus Hero, and Deer versus Innovation.
Deer versus Innovation. I saw the lineups before before we showed those to you guys. I thought that would be somewhat of a hype series because I thought Deer was going to come in here, defeat Classic, and then go on to Innovation being 3-0, and I thought both of those guys would be 3-0 and go head-to-head. But that is not the case. That's not the way it worked out. So going into that one, I would still have to favor Innovation.
I think he's going to also be a lot more motivated after dropping today's games versus Dark. I know probably not a lot of people predicted those. By not a lot, I mean you and Wolf. But I think it's very encouraging to see people's heads in our camera shot. I think it's very encouraging to see guys like Innovation have struggles along the way, and it's just 1 week. We'll see if he can bounce back next week. He's going to have to do it against Deer. Definitely not our most dominant player in SSL, but still great matches to watch. So we'll see you back once again on Monday for more SSL Premier.